Did you know that bodily autonomy is like so hot?
Welcome to the Love Siren podcast, your weekly dose of enchantment for the modern romantic. I'm Dahlia, your queer, poly, feminist witch, guiding you into your most magnetic, irresistible siren self. If you're craving ocean-deep love, delicious confidence, and results that last, you've just unlocked the right portal. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get into it.
I feel like it would be absolutely crazy for me to have not talked about this on the podcast, but just in case I never have, I don't have my fallopian tubes anymore. I am fully sterilized, and it was one of the greatest decisions I ever made. I have pretty much always known that I was child free, even from a very young age. And this surgery really just solidified those feelings in a way that feels so fulfilling in a way that I really wasn't expecting. I thought that it would be worthwhile to talk about it and have an entire podcast episode dedicated to this subject, partly because I get a lot of questions about it. I think that it's still a little bit on the taboo side, and I'm so grateful that there's so much information that's out there, but I feel like hearing a personal story just kind of helps bring it to life in a way that makes it feel a little bit more, I don't know, attainable. I am a little bit struggling with how I want to structure this episode, but of course, in true Dahlia fashion, I am going to start with a disclaimer, which is to say that none of this is medical advice. This is purely just my experience from what I went through, and it is very different from the other people that I had spoken to. So I just wanted to put that in your mind as you listen moving forward. I will also say, too, that I am going to do my best to have this episode be as least gory as possible. I'm not going to go into detail. So if you are squeamish, don't worry, I got you. So I'm going to talk about my provider experience first. I found the Child Free subreddit has an incredible document that has all of the providers that are willing to do this surgery, and it goes into very specifics too. So like if you're a young person who tends to not be taken as seriously by medical professionals, there will be a lot of disclaimers, right? So like this person worked on my surgery at like 35, but denied this other person at 22, whatever it is. So I went to go see two separate providers. The first one was a pretty young Asian man, and he seemed on the queer side at the very least. And he warned me that he needed to do like a questionnaire that was going to be invasive. And I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, like, sure, no problem. I figured that this was happening, but I did not know how invasive it was going to be. He asked me about my marital status. He asked me about my sexual partners. He asked me about my sexuality. Like, he went really in depth. And also did a pelvic exam and also did a blood test. And then the second woman I went to, she only asked me two questions, which was if I was being coerced into getting this surgery and if I was a fall risk. And when I told her about the pelvic exam and the blood test, she looked at me as if I had three heads. She was like, that is so medically unnecessary. So that was a little frustrating, and obviously I went with her. I think she is incredible. I think she deserves sainthood. I love her. I honestly feel like she is worth going to Los Angeles for this surgery. She is an OBGYN that only does birth control. And so she does this surgery like 3 times every Friday, and this is what she does. And so that's really reassuring as well. As far as the surgery itself, so Roe v. Wade was overturned, I believe, June 2022. And it took me a little while, first with denial of just kind of like, surely this isn't going to stick. And then when it did, it took me a little while to get my admin ducks in a row. But I had this surgery in October 2023. And all of my previous surgeries I had were more like, emergency situations where it's like, no, you must get this done. And this was the first one that was my choice. It was an elective surgery. And there's something about being able to take control over yourself in that way, especially after such a heartbreaking ruling over losing federal abortion. It made me feel so powerful, and it made me feel so in control, especially with a government that doesn't see me as a full person, One thing that I find so interesting, and I truly, truly believe that my guides were looking out for me, is that I actually got approved to get this surgery done when I was 25, 26. But that was previously when they were doing what's known as tube tying, where they cauterize your fallopian tube instead of removing it fully. And that actually has been shown to lead towards ectopic pregnancy and also ovarian cancer. And so they've stopped doing that and have just started fully removing the fallopian tubes. And that actually has reduced cancer risks, which is really cool. So even in just that short amount of time from when I first could have gotten this surgery to when I actually got this surgery, the technology had increased so much that what I actually got was safer than what I could have gotten. If you've never been under anesthesia before, I personally love it. I think it's like the best sleep I possibly can get. And I really love that feeling, but I can understand that it's scary. And I can also understand that people don't like that feeling. But I think it's great. So if that's helpful to latch onto, by all means, take it. But I joke that this surgery is like the most minor major surgery that you can get, because at the end of the day they're still removing a full organ from your body. It's just like a really teeny tiny little baby organ. Well, no baby organ in this situation. Anyway, it was an outpatient procedure. My best friend Petey had taken excellent care of me. Big shout out to him. And, to me, it was, I'm out. I didn't really know anything from that day. I'm sure Petey had a harder time than I did. Just like waiting around. My recovery, on the other hand, was harder and longer than on average. It's tricky because I say that, and I was still within the normal range, but I was on like the very slow side of normal. So that was really tough. I would say it took me a full month to get back up to 90%. And then it was even a little bit longer than that to be at 100. But I will say that now, after I finally reached 100%, I've been fine. There's been nothing since then. The main thing is that they fill your belly up with gas. And unfortunately, when you're drinking like a soda and you have gas, it goes out a particular tube upstairs or downstairs. But with the gas that they injected into my stomach, there's nowhere for it to go. It just gets absorbed into the body. And so I remember my first night, I genuinely thought I was having a heart attack because I was in so much pain. And it was so brutal. I did also have a breathing tube down my throat. And I also had a catheter, which I was under anesthesia, so I didn't feel anything like going in or getting removed, but I definitely felt it like the first pee. Oh my God. So painful. Brutal. And of course you want to be hydrated when you're recovering from surgery, but I did not want to be hydrated. Once the gas had fully left my body, that was awful. And you like have to kind of like force yourself to walk to kind of like start moving that gas through your body. Oh my gosh. And I just like could barely walk. It was so rough. But after the gas expelled, then it was really just, I had a lot of pain in my incisions. And I think I had something with my nerves, like something got messed up, where even just like the gentle touch, the gentle caress of my like cotton dress on the incision would feel like pins sticking in it. But again, I'm fully fine now. There was no problem once I finally got through that recovery. I also just want to say too that the person that I spoke to who got the same surgery, I think she was like a friend of mine's cousin or something like that. And for her recovery, she just needed 2 weeks and then she was good to go back to dancing full time. So I think that genuinely, I just had a bit of a slower time. And again, I'm fine now. And I say that only because I don't want you to feel scared about getting the surgery if you are feeling inclined to get it. I have zero regrets getting this surgery. I think that the fear of pregnancy, it always felt like this like refrigerator hum in the back of my mind. And then the moment that I woke up from that surgery, that hum just stopped and it was silent in my brain. And I really didn't notice how much space it was taking until it was gone. So let's talk about side effects. After I was done with the surgery and the recovery, I really have not thought about this surgery at all, which has been such a gift. I had been on hormonal birth control since I was a tween. I don't remember exactly how old I was. I might have been 13 or 12 because I had really intense period pain and it just helped with that mitigation. And so once I got this surgery, this was the first time that I was able to experience my cycle without that hormonal birth control since I basically started, which is really wild to think about. I also want to say too that there is like some myths that you need to like kind of like reset your hormones with birth control pills and like, you know, go off of them every once in a while. And it's actually not true. You don't need to do that. If you want to stay on birth control pills your entire life, you are welcome to do that. It was actually something that I was considering doing, of going back on the pill if it turned out that my periods were as bad as they were when I was a tween. Luckily, they have been heavier than they were when I was on the pill, but they're not debilitating. One of the weirder side effects that happened to me was that I don't remember exactly where it was in the process, but it was pretty early after I had the surgery. I had one full day of full-blown grief over not having children. And I think that if I hadn't gone to therapy or know myself as deeply as I do, I think that that would have really scared me, which is part of the reason why I want to say it. Because if it does happen to you, it feels quite normal, you know? I think that this was something that I was so petrified of. I was so petrified about getting pregnant, so petrified of having a child and that responsibility. Also the body horror of pregnancy, it just like feels really intense. Really metal, so metal. I have major kudos to anybody who has given birth because I know that we do it. I wouldn't be here without it, but also, woof, oh my gosh, it's intense. And so, you know, there was a big grief day that I was kind of like, oh, I'm never going to experience that. I'm never going to experience what it's like to rear a child. And that is correct. Like, I don't want that. I don't think I would be great at it. I love my life. I love my freedom. I don't think I would be a present parent if I was to have a child. And so it doesn't make sense to have it. But that grief really did sneak up on me. And then the only other side effect that I'm experiencing is that I must live in a state that has abortion. Interestingly, getting your tubes removed is not 100% effective. If you are having sex that can get you pregnant, which I do partake in, then the most effective form of birth control is actually the implant. And it can be incredibly dangerous for me if I did get pregnant, because it would result in an ectopic pregnancy, pretty much guaranteed. And so I must get an abortion or I will die. And so it's like actually a life or death situation. Hopefully it never happens. I would hate to be in that situation. But as aforementioned, I do partake. There is a risk. It's a small risk, but it's still there. And especially in states where they prosecute against people who pursue abortion, I'm just not willing to take that risk. In Nevada, where I reside, I believe that abortion is going to be on the ballot this upcoming November, which is terrifying. I'm so nervous. But so far, every state that has put it up to popular vote has passed. So, you know, we're gonna hold the faith that everything's gonna be okay, and I don't have to immediately uproot my life and move to somewhere else. So when I got this surgery, I was definitely witchy, but I wasn't very confident in my witchiness, and I wasn't as expanded as I am now. And I have since then had another surgery that I did go under for. And so I have some witchy tips for you if you are experiencing surgery anytime soon. And this can be expanded to kind of any kind of scary medical thing that you might be doing. My favorite is to paint some protection sigils on your toenails. Usually you have to take off all of your jewelry when you are going into surgery, but your nail polish is kosher, that is fine. That doesn't interfere with anything. And so that is like a really sneaky way of making that happen. Of course, you can also do some protective sigils in pen if you want to, but I would have it be somewhere that's just like nowhere near where you're getting the surgery done. I also, for this surgery, needed to stop eating at midnight, which I think is pretty industry standard. And I really savored that last meal. I really made sure that I gave it not just to myself, but also as an offering to my deities, my ancestors, my spirit squad, who you learned all about in a previous episode. And it feels really special. It feels really special to kind of have this be a last meal. Obviously, everything's going to be fine. You're going to be completely fine. But there's something to be said about kind of having this be the last thing that you eat before this threshold, before you come out of this surgery altered. Of course, I love me some candle magic. I think doing a black candle for protection and just kind of sending yourself off with as much success as you possibly can in this situation is really great. If you remember one of my previous episodes about how witchcraft cured my anxiety, obviously getting surgery can feel really anxiety inducing. I mean, especially if you're going under, there's just so little that you can control in that situation, and you just kind of have to have complete and utter trust that everything is going to be fine. And I feel like having something that you can do to kind of help calm your nerves, that at the very least you did everything that you can possibly do to prep for this surgery, both physically and also spiritually. I feel like that just kind of helps calm the nerves just a little bit more. The last thing that I want to say is, my God, people do not understand internal reproductive systems at all. I remember I was trying to build a 5-minute comedy set about getting sterilized, and one of the comedians who was in my little section was this older woman. I think she was like maybe 50 or something like that, and she kept on being like, "Why are you saying sterilized instead of just a hysterectomy?" And I'm like, because I didn't get a hysterectomy. I have had a lot of people ask me if I still get a period. And the answer is yes. I still have a uterus. It still sheds all of the uterine lining. I still have eggs as well. I just don't have the highway for the egg to reach the uterus. And that's where the birth control is. But there's just a lot of misconceptions, which, again, that just is reflective of our society in general. Oh, I've also had people ask me if I need to do a hormone replacement therapy. And the answer is no. I still produce my normal amount of estrogen and testosterone. I will go through menopause at some point. Everything is the same. It's just that highway is gone. I also will say, too, that people do not believe you when you say that you're child free. I think that people really question it. Number one, I would have a lot of people ask me when I was having children, and usually I would tell them that I had an alcohol problem. Which, if you know me, you know I don't drink, so I found that extra funny. But, it's a really surefire way to kind of make people feel like, okay, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be around kids. And, if they're asking me that kind of question, then I don't particularly care if they think that I'm an alcoholic. But in my dating profiles, I would always have that I was child free, and yet I would still have people who would match with me who wanted children. And even though I'm polyamorous, I'm used to having kind of these snapshots of relationships that have an end to them. I still found that a little insulting. And it was after I put the fact that I was sterilized, that was when people really started taking me more seriously. And I don't have people who are feeling like they want to have children match with me anymore. Okay, I think we did it. This was definitely a bit of a side episode from what we have been talking about, but I still feel like it's relevant in this self-love kind of way. It's also such a huge part of me and my personality, and I'm really honored that I got to share this with you. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. As always, you know where to find me. If you're interested in a reading, you can click the link in the description, and I can't wait to talk to you soon. I love you.